This is certainly not a accessible title.
That's Dan Tack saying that, ladies and gentlemen.
Sure, and that's something you have to take into consideration. Like, but maybe that's the direction they need to take things. Like Beyond Earth was very accessible, and not everyone liked that game as much as I did. Mm-hmm. This one is for the core Civilization fans, or people who really wanted to get into core strategy games. Like, it's not like a Paradox game. It's not that crazy. It's not like Crusader Kings.
They have a tutorial. It's just a slog to get through.
It is one of those things where I was talking to, because Kato came up and asked me, he's like, hey, I want to play this game. It sounds really interesting. And I'm like, have you played Civ before? Like, you have to have that conversation of like, no, I haven't. Like, I'm like, all right, well, be prepared to sort of put in a little bit of time just learning how the system works. And you're going to like not really understand all the benefits of building your city right away. Mm-hmm. And so, but be fine with that. If you put it on a little bit lower difficulty, you're never going to work yourself into like a corner where you can't like win the game. I think on a lower difficulty.
I think after a few games you really get the hang of it. You do need to like accept the fact that like, yes, I'm going into these games just to learn,
right?
To figure everything out.
What about for people that are actually listening and interested in this thing? What about going from 5 to 6? How's that learning curve?
Oh, if you've already played Civ, then yeah, like there's still a bit of a learning curve. Yeah, I mean, Dan Tack knows probably as much, maybe more than I do. I don't know, but he. There is a bit of a learning curve because there's a lot of things that have changed in this build. Like, main thing that people always keep talking about is like tiles. The cities in building up your city, you have to like pick one tile to build a wonder on. You have to pick one tile to build a district on. So it kind of like limits you a little bit in like what you can build in your city until your city continues to expand, and your cities also sprawl out in a larger way.
So this is different from 5.
Yes, yeah, that didn't exist in 5.
Why did they do that?
I mean, philosophically, I don't know. Philosophically, I don't know.
Let's go get falafels, guys.
Right.
I'd like one.
Philosophically.
Thank you.
I don't know. I don't know if Dan Tack has a theory on that.
But hey, I don't JV, leave him alone.
I don't know what they said, but I mean, it certainly makes the game feel, to me, more like a board game, and it does make a lot more interesting decisions that you're forced to make. Whether or not that's a good thing, I don't know. I really do like the game. I do think it's certainly awesome. But yeah, it does create completely different city building strategies. Like, you can't be like, oh, I'm just going to build 40 wonders in my Egyptian city and win with cultural victory and never do anything else. That sort of option, you're going to have to build out. You're going to open those wonders and buildings up for pillaging, and those tiles that have the wonders won't give you resources anymore.
Right.
And you got to build districts, and you got to get adjacent district bonuses. There's a ton of stuff going on.
It makes your cities look more visually interesting, I'll say that.
It does.
And I think you have a little bit more control of like making your city look cool. And also, me and Dan Falafel Tack here were talking the other day about how your strategy, I don't know if I'm quoting you correctly, but you like to build one big city and kind of have that be your main hub with everything in it.
That used to be my strategy for a cultural win.
And in 6, you can't really do that because you're limited by space. So you can't like build one city that has everything in it. So you kind of almost have to build like, all right, this is going to be my city that's going to focus all on science. It's going to be my science heavy city. And then maybe another city will be kind of more of a cultural city.
Gotcha.
Because in 6, you have limited, like if you're going for a cultural victory, for instance, which in 6 is tourism, okay? So you need museums and stuff to hold your great works of art and great literature pieces.
So
and
you put
music.
Titanfall 2 in there?
And there's different, yeah, I think that's going to be in there for sure. And there's there's like little slots, like this place can hold one great work of literature. This place can hold one great song or composition. And so you need to build out a little bit in order to get your vast empire of cultural tourism.
It's a really crappy museum if it can't hold.
What songs can you like? X gonna give it to you? Is that in there?
Baba Yetu?
Yeah, Baba Yetu is in. It's not in there, but it should be. No, it's mostly like Jay-Z.
So it seems like with the Sonic cycle, people are familiar with it. You know, people get excited, then are always let down. You tell me if this read is correct. I feel like there's a Civ cycle where they release a game, people say, oh, it's stripped down. They changed some core design tenets. I don't know about this. Then they add expansions. People get more and more on board as they add more features. People love it. By the tail end of Civ 4's life, Civ 5's life, I mean, people have poured hundreds and hundreds of hours into it. Then the new one comes out, and it seems like it strips things down a little bit again. And then people say, oh, I don't know about these assigned decisions. Is that what the reaction is to 6 so far? Are there things from 5 that you miss?
I would say this is definitely just as complex as any core Civ player would enjoy off the just straight up right now. There's a lot of other stuff I think they need to address and look at. Obviously, I haven't put in more than 60 hours at this point, but like just off the bat, I see really degenerate strategies that are just blowing up my friends' games. Like,
Rome seems pretty strong.
Rome is insanely powerful. There's no. I'm sure there's ways to counter it, but like I just blow people away with massive trade routes because they have a skill that lets them basically. It's called all roads lead to Rome, and just like you make all the money you want. You see which victory isn't being attacked, and then you just buy it, basically.
But it probably takes more than like 24 in-game hours to build Rome.
No. Surprisingly, my multiplayer games have only taken around 8 hours.
Yeah,
Really?
only 8 hours to build Rome.
That's nothing. Compared to earlier Civ games that would take literal days to complete, it's pretty fast. But, you know.
So it's true. Rome wasn't built in a day.
So does this still have
Ben Reeves.
that one more turn sort of quality that Civ has always had? Because
what if they said no?
So cliche.
You know what? I played 5 turns and I was like,
No, really.
I played 2 turns. I moved my settler to a new square and I said, just one more. We're going to start that city.
No, really. Like that's the thing that's always been associated with that series. You know,
this one, their slogan actually is next turn, take it or leave it.
Next turn,
Next slogan is called One Civilization. That's the slogan.
Yeah, of course. I think it's because there's so many like small bite-sized goals you can have in the game, and that obviously is still just a staple of the series. Because there's always like one more thing you can like build, or one more like area you can go explore, or one more like next like wonder you're going to try to like unlock. And so you're always, and in fact, even in this one, I would say maybe it's even more of a factor because. Another big thing I like about the game is these Eureka moments, which are tied into your tech tree and your Civ tree. And those are like mini goals that you have. So you can like look at a technology and it'll say like, you can speed up the development of this technology if you kill like 5 barbarians with a spearman or something.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know. It just encourages you to kill.
Yeah, I don't like the violence part either, but
My Lord, Sid.
But there's all kinds of like those mini goals. And those encourage you to build things because it speeds up your technology development. And it's just one more little miniature goal for you to like, carry on and have something to kind of sink your teeth into and pursue.
Because I am absolutely terrified about getting back into Civ. Because the last one I played was 4, and I nearly flunked out of my freshman semester, my first one, because of that game.
But you're not in college anymore.
You didn't nearly do it, so you should have played more.
Thanks, Tack.
We don't do anything halfway.
Full measures.
That's right. No half measures.
What have been some of the craziest stories so far from you guys playing? Do you have civilizations that have been real dickholes to you?
Sure.
Is Gandhi still the worst?
Who?
Yeah, they all are at some point. So this is the one thing. I mean, I agree with Reeves' analysis, by the way. It's an excellent game. Yeah. Certainly in the ballpark of the score he gave it. But...
Reeves, I think you're 100% spot on with your 9.5.
Ballpark.
I said certainly within the ballpark.
Sure.
But like later on in the game, and this has been a problem with previous Civilization games as well, like turns get so bogged down and unwieldy. Like you got to manage like 10 different things, and like 10 different people are going to come up to you and say, "Hey, want to go to war?" No, I don't want to go to war. Can you please stop asking me about that? No. Guess what? Hey. I want to be friends. I don't want to be friends with you. I'm killing you. I'm right outside your base. Go away. So
just too much info, too many dynamics later on?
Too many factors come into play on any given turn that makes them just like, the time it can take to do a turn just becomes obscene, and the game kind of like starts to chug.
The game really chugs there, especially like, I don't know, 200 turns in where you really like have a whole of the map like taken over with dozens of cities. Like it just takes a long time for the AI to figure out what it's doing.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there just kind of waiting for like, okay, when is it my turn again? Like that's one thing that's a problem. Another thing is Tack pointed out is like usually around that 150 turn, it seems like your enemy citizens kind of turn against you. Like the other countries are like, all right, it's time for war. And I was one playthrough, I tried to be really diplomatic and friendly to everybody and really tried to like, all right, I'm going to try to make sure we all are peaceable and nobody's fighting each other. But Teddy Roosevelt was
classic.
That asshole.
What did he do?
Like, well, he just kept like pushing his like troops right up to my border, and I'm like, this is gonna happen, isn't it, Teddy? And I kept like trying to like do some trade negotiations and like, hey, open borders, like anything I could do to appease him.
Teddy, don't do this.
But he kept getting upset with me. He thought I was a warmonger.
He called you a warmonger?
He probably had no military at all.
I had a smaller military than him, although my technology was way higher. So
what does that mean? What did you have? Like, what's the high? Do you have like a space shuttle flying over his Teddy Roosevelt horses?
I wasn't that advanced. No, he had like, I don't know. I think he had archers. Like he had some early stuff. He had horsemen.
Rough Riders.
And I had gunpowder, right?
That actually is a special unit.
Really? Yeah. Oh, nice. And you took him out?
Well, he took one of my cities, and then I steamrolled. I came back from that and took over 2 of his. So Eye for two eyes.
Is there any new, like, these games have been around for so long. Is there any new storytelling dynamics? Are the characters that I know it's weird to call them characters. Is the AI more nuanced? Can they do more interesting things, interesting alliances? Anything funky this time around?
Like I said, mechanically and feature set, it has like plenty of differences to keep things fresh while retaining that same, it's still Civilization. But yeah, I've had some weird experience with the AI. It's still too early to tell, but like, I think they have some kind of weird fail-safe trigger where it's like, if this is this turn, we're just going to war. It doesn't matter. If it's like somewhere around turn 150, no matter what you've done, it's like they want to fight. Now, I don't know if that's probably because you're triggering their hidden agenda, which is like, oh, this guy's going for a cultural victory and he's way higher than me. I'm just going to kill him.
Right. That is one new thing. Like, each diplomat has their own hidden agenda, which you don't know. And it's always kind of randomized. So they have some revealed agendas, which you can know.
Really?
Yeah.
So they all have their...
So you can't like predict like, okay, I know what Teddy Roosevelt's always going to do, right?
Well, you do. You know the one thing he's always going to be, but you don't know his other one.
But you don't know his hidden agenda is what I'm saying. So that's
really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of trying to like say you never know what you're going to get when you go into Civilization.
What are some other hidden agendas they can have?
It's like they may hate you if you have trade routes. They may hate you if you've got if you're a religious expansioner.
They may hate you if you have a bigger army than them, or if they may hate you if you have a different type of government than they do.
Yeah.
Or a different religion.
So when the game's over, do they like flip over a card and say, hey, I hated you for this reason?
Well, you can send spies actually into their
And the spies are
town.
really strong in this game and crazy cutthroat in multiplayer.
Ooh.
So you can find out the hidden agenda just by sending spies over. Your spies can also get caught. So then my spy did get caught by Teddy Roosevelt, and I had to do some negotiation to get him back. And he was like, promise never to do that again. I was like, yep. Send him immediately back in there.
You spoke softly, too softly. Are you a big multiplayer guy?
Absolutely. It's hard to do in Civilization because of the requirements and time, which is why I was really pleased to see that we were able to finish a 4-person multiplayer game in about 8 hours. And I know that sounds insane, but that's really short for a full-fledged Civ game.
Aren't you just playing solitaire with other?
It's because there's like dynamic turns.
What does that mean?
So it's like everybody takes their turn at the same time and just locks in. So instead of if you had to wait for every player, that would be insane.
I don't understand logically how that works.
We all take our turns simultaneously. It's complicated.
And then you just keep going forward? That seems...
Yeah, what do you mean?
Everyone locks in, the turn passes. I take my turn while Bob is taking his turn. I click done. My little icon goes up. When Bob is done with his turn, his icon goes up. And when everyone's turn is done, the turn passes.
So if logically that makes sense, why wouldn't they have been doing that the whole time?
I mean, it's something to have, but it's just quicker in this. This seems... It's nicely done.
You're asking why didn't they do that in Civ 5?
I guess so.
I don't know. It's a good question for them. Get them on the podcast.
Civ 5 games took a lot longer. I do know that.
Huh. I've always wondered who that multiplayer Civ community is, and apparently it's Dan Tack and his friends.
it's obviously it's not. I mean, they're moving into esports now or something ridiculous like
what?
that. I saw that the other day. They signed a pro player or something to play.
Jesus. Is it Gandhi?
The game is deep enough for it, but I have no idea how this is going to happen.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess it's really tiny maps, like dual maps, and like really. I don't know.
Civilization Blitz?
Yeah.
What the hell?
I'd watch that.
I'd like to see it.
Like,
yeah.
I don't care about esports,
I don't know
but
if
I'd
it would be
watch that.
watchable. I just don't know the watchability of this.
It's slow. Like, we did a test chamber, and I'm like, man, I like Civ a lot, but like, even just doing this as a test chamber feels really slow.
I
to
love
me.
Civ, but it's not something you'd be like, hey man, I really want to get like a nice cold cola. Go watch a guy play Civ. That's not a real thing.
Some coffee and cola.
Oh yes, coffee.
I will say something like StarCraft makes sense to me because it's all pretty fast action, so I can get watching that.
I mean, StarCraft Zergosh takes about 1 minute.
Right,
that's
but
over.
Yeah, Civ. It's just I don't know.
I mean, to me, it's akin to like watching like a long ass chess match.
And how many of those have you watched?
Well,
a lot when I was younger, actually.
I mean, actually, 3 Moves Ahead, this strategy podcast, they had a podcast just talking about the streaming chess community. And I guess like chess has really ballooned in the age of Twitch. Like people are really into watching just novelty chess matches, and they have like all these variants too. Like I think it's literally called Blitz Chess, where it's like a 1 minute type of thing. But then also beyond that, they have a version of chess which is just horde mode, where you have like a set number and it's just like a stream of pawns coming at you.
Horde mode
cool,
chess.
actually.
All right, I'm done. I'm leaving.
Well, that sounds cool.
I'm done with life.
Dan, can I beat you in a game of chess? Do you think?
No.
But that doesn't take.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
That doesn't take 8 hours. Like
some chess matches
I think
do.
the length.
Like a lot of
That's why
them,
you gotta get those
especially
clocks.
tournament ones.
You gotta get a clock
just
and put
can
5
take
minutes on it, so
forever.
Hanson
Okay,
can't
I don't
take
know.
forever.
Maybe I stand corrected. Maybe
No, I'm with
Civ
you.
will take off.
It's tough, but I'd love to see what they do with it. But cool, 9-5, huh?
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Dan Tack? You scoffing at that 9.5?
I am not scoffing.
All right.
What?
His eyes rolled back farther than when JV was talking about Titanfall.
I think it's a great game. Honestly,
good.
for real.
As good as 5? Better than 5? Where are we at?
Okay, so the problem is when you evaluate 5, you can't look at it without the expansions now. Base 5 was not great, man. I mean, it was good, but the expansions made that game what it is today.
Got you.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I like it better than base 5. Although I do remember liking 5 when it came out as well. But yeah, I think I don't know, this feels like a little bit deeper, a little bit more going on than 5 had.
I think it is too.
Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can click right here if you want to subscribe and listen to the audio version of the full show. Full episodes air every Thursday, and they feature Game Informer editors sitting around talking about the biggest reviews, previews. We talk about exclusive impressions of Game Informer's cover stories. We have long-form developer interviews, everything that's great in gaming. So every Thursday, be sure to check it out.